Very generous donation, so your cooperation and help would be greatly appreciated. Now, I don't know how many of you subscribe to Western, Eastern Treasure, to Lost Treasure, to all these treasure magazines. And they're all quality publications. But as far as I'm concerned, the one I look forward to most often, I wish it were a monthly publication, I'm sure Butch would say, oh God, no. Okay. Is American Digger. Not only does the magazine have stories, it has pictures, it makes the real treasure hunter in us want to drool. I see things in there that are wonderful and fascinating, and I sometimes wish I could accompany these people and just partake in a little bit of it. The man who's responsible for it, plus his wife Anita, is Mr. Butch Holcomb. I am honored and privileged to listen to him tonight, to introduce him to you, so that we can have some fun, some laughter, and I'm sure you're really going to enjoy it. Butch, thank you.
You don't know what you're getting into putting me in front of a microphone. But don't worry, I won't go on too long tonight, folks. And if I do, I've got an intermission planned for around 10:30. You can get it. Then we'll continue. Not really. I'm not as long-winded as you may have heard. And I want to tell you that it is good to be above the Mason-Dixon line, and it is truly an honor to speak to you, the members of the FMDXC. I'm from Georgia, in case you didn't know. But this is something that I've dreamed about for a very, very long time. And I'm not talking about just being allowed into a nice hotel and banquet room without security asking me to leave. No, it goes way beyond that. It is actually being invited to speak to this group. So y'all made a dream come true of mine, and I appreciate that. Now we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. I'm going to teach you a little bit about Southern culture, bless your hearts. And I'm also going to teach you about something a little more serious, which you probably are already familiar with, which is some of the laws that affect us. But as said, my name is Butch Holcomb. I'm an avid metal detectorist. Oh, who am I fooling? I am a metal detecting nut, like I'm sure one or two of you guys and girls are. I've been that way since the late 1960s. I am publisher of American Digger magazine and also the founder. And I've authored 2 books. Never Mace a Skunk. Well, actually, I co-authored the second one, Never Mace a Skunk 2. Has anyone here read those books? I'm so sorry. And once again, bless your heart.
You signed it. You signed it.
I'm doubly sorry for that then. I hope you asked me to. But anyway, thanks folks for buying those books, and if you haven't read them, I consider them pretty humorous. But I want to talk a little bit about something that happened to me. You know, the younger generation, our offspring, God bless them, we love them, we play with them, we pat them on the head, we kiss them on the cheeks, and it's what I want to talk about, because not long ago, my precious daughter, she tugged on my sleeve, and you know how the kids do, she said, "Daddy, Daddy, 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 Daddy." And so finally I looked down and I says, "Yes, sweetheart," and I kissed her on the cheek. And of course her husband and her kids got really upset about that, but you know, what do they know? It's my daughter. So I said, "No, honey," and I patted her on her precious little head. I said, "A lot of fairy tales begin with, if I'm elected, I promise." Folks, we've heard that fairy tale way too often. Now, when was the last time you asked a candidate his or her views on metal detecting? If you have, chances are you got a lot of blank stares or maybe even ignored. And if that happens, try to explain to the politician what metal detecting is all about, the good we do, all the things we do. But if they won't listen to you, explain to them about metal detecting, like I say, explain to them about the good things that they do, and make sure that they know the bills they're voting on, because unfortunately, a lot of politicians are not only ignorant on metal detecting, but they're ignorant on some of the very bills that they vote on. And these are people we put into office. The first is forgivable. That is, not understanding metal detecting. Heck, my own mom doesn't understand metal detecting. She's put up with me for 55 years. But the second thing, that is not understanding bills that you vote on, to me, that is unforgivable. That a politician could sign their name on something and not understand it. And that's why a lot of our laws get passed. So if the politicians brush you off, then thank them for their time, move on to their opponent, and ask them the same questions. But before you do either thing, here's some words you need to say to them. I am a metal detectorist and I vote. Saying that will let them know where we stand. However, let's say it all together. And I know I hate these interactive speeches, but let's just go with me here for a minute. I am a metal detectorist and I vote. Okay, now we have the power of numbers. And it's kind of hard to ignore that. However, sometimes we need to be a little louder about it. And I hope I don't scare the bartender in there. But let's do it all together. I'm a metal detectorist and I vote. Ooh, that feels good. But you know the sad thing about it? Other than the bartender who's out there hiding under the bar right now because he thinks we're nuts. No one outside of this room heard that. Even if we had shouted it from the rooftops all together, it would have done very little good because, you see, not only do we not say that enough, we don't say it to the right people. So from now on, I hope that you'll start saying it to every politician that you meet, everybody that's running for re-election, everybody that's in office. These folks work for us and they need reminding of that. It's the best weapon we have, the vote, or more specifically, the power to vote these people out of office when they pass bad metal detecting bills. They need to be told that we can vote them out of the office. They need to know that we're metal detectors when we vote. And think of it this way. Most of the people in here have gainful employment, with the exception of me. And what will get the quickest results from someone at work? Okay, the boss says nothing, ignoring the problem. I don't know about you folks, but with me, if my boss ignored the problem and said nothing about it, I probably wouldn't even know there was a problem. The boss drops hints at what needs to be done and to make the problem better. Well, if a boss drops some hints, if I'm in a good mood, I might help him out on this problem he perceives there to be. But if I'm not in a good mood or I don't like him a whole lot, I'm not going to help him with it. Okay, the boss begs for you to look into the problem. Now, once a boss starts begging you to do something, if you have any common sense, you're probably going to start taking care of the problem. However, don't get me wrong, I've known a lot of politicians, I've been friends with politicians, but not all politicians have common sense. So we need to move on to the last one, which is, the boss tells you that he will fire you if you don't take care of the problem, and he explains to you exactly what that problem is. Now, folks, anybody that ignores that last thing is probably going to get fired. And that's what's going to happen to politicians. If they're told that we will not vote for them if they continue to pass these bills, they're going to do something about it if they have any common sense. If they don't have any common sense, we probably need to vote them out anyway. We need to remind them that we are metal detectors and we vote. Personally, I am a metal detectorist, I vote. I have a voice in my future and that of my hobby. Now, that's not bad for someone who was born penniless, illiterate, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but yes, naked. Some 50 years ago. Aren't you glad you're through with your dinner, man? Now that's naked, not naked. I told you I was going to introduce you to a little bit of Southern culture tonight. There is a big difference in naked and naked. If you're naked, you're unclothed and fairly innocent. If you're naked, you're unclothed and you're up to something really no good, or you're having a heck of a lot of fun doing it. So I was naked when I was born. But like so many other infants born at that time, I overcame all of these hardships. And once I had grown up a little bit, learned to read, started wearing clothes I had to, the other kids in the second grade were laughing at me, got enough money to buy batteries, I began to fall in love with metal detecting in the late 1960s. Okay, truth is, like I said before, I became an absolute metal detecting nut. I was hooked on it from the first time I swung a machine. So after I became a metal detecting nut, I always had a metal detector and a digging implement locked in the car of my truck. And it stayed there for the days when I laid out of school and worked to go metal detecting. And yes, I admit, I did both. Actually, as much time as I spent metal detecting really seemed like I was laying out of metal detecting to occasionally go to school and work. But somehow I managed to keep a job and I managed to graduate school. But otherwise, I was out detecting. I was out swinging that coil every day. I can't tell you how many hours I put into it. The real reason I can't tell you how many hours I put into it is because I broke my watch when I was out metal detecting, and the store where I bought my stuff at would not take all the corroded pennies and dimes and nickels I tried to cash in for a new watch. But seriously, I can tell you one thing I learned during that time about watches, and a lot of you are going to agree with me on this. Here's my philosophy. Timex may take a licking and keep on ticking, but give a Timex a few years in the ground, it won't make another sound. Back then, I had no problem metal detecting almost anywhere I wanted. It was good. Permission was easily obtained. The only laws to worry about were detecting on federal parks. And when a police officer pulled up to a city park where I was metal detecting, it was to see what I was finding, not to threaten me with arrest. Life was good, fines were plentiful, and there were so many places to enjoy this wonderful hobby. I was enthralled with the hobby and I couldn't get enough of it. I was a metal detectorist. But unfortunately, I didn't vote, or at least when I did vote, I didn't vote wisely. I was too busy enjoying what I assumed was my God-given right to dig crusty, rusty things out of the ground, and I was sure that that would last forever. After all, who would dare say that people like us could not recover what somebody else had lost or even discarded or thrown away? That would be stupid, that would be ignorant, that would be almost as stupid and ignorant as not voting wisely. Okay, I've noticed that some of you are looking at me slightly puzzled, or as we say in Georgia, you're gawking at me slack-jawed. You can read my lips, it's okay. I'm not an alien, I speak Southern. You see, it's similar to English, but it's not quite as complicated. So if you have trouble understanding me, in a moment you're welcome to raise your hand, but let me warn you, once you raise your hand, I'm going to single you out, rib you unmercifully with jokes about why it's best to eat free-range grits fresh from the tree instead of this farm-raised stuff they're serving in Denny's. And the process used to extract sugar from tea, because down south we know that's what they do, because all tea is sugar down south. Seriously folks, if you have trouble understanding me, just don't raise your hand, just nod and smile a lot, and maybe nobody will notice. As we say down south, bless your heart, or as I often say, bless your heart and all your vital organs. Let me tell you, down south we bless more hearts than Oral Roberts at a cardiologist convention. So yes, I was a metal detectorist. No, I didn't vote, or when I did, I voted for whoever had the coolest hair or the most catchy campaign song, because after all, no politician would ever threaten my hobby, not the hobby that I loved.